Hello, welcome once again to Leto's Law. I'm Steve Leto. I got the strangest email today, and that's often the beginning of a great video, right? And a guy wrote me an email and he said, Steve, and it was, by the way, I have to clean it up. It was laced with obscenities and name calling. But he said, in essence, Steve, I watched your video about how to behave when pulled over by a police officer, and I described what you can do to try to reduce the odds of getting a ticket, how to behave during a traffic stop. And in that video, I said specifically, if the police officer asks you, do you know why I pulled you over? You never answer the question by saying, yes, I was speeding. Yes, I ran a stop sign. Yes, there's contraband in the trunk of a pickup. You never admit to anything. And the guy in the email to me this morning said, Steve, I can't believe you advise people to lie. You're a lawyer. And then he called me a string of names, which I cannot repeat to you because then I would get censored by YouTube. And the strangest thing is that he's misinterpreting what I say, which annoys me because I never said, yes, you should lie to the police officer. If I'd said those words, someone please point it out to me because I never said that. What I'm getting at, and this is the important thing to understand, and this is the thesis of this video, you do not know why the officer pulled you over. You do not know that. So when a police officer says, do you know why I pulled you over? The correct answer is always, no, I don't. Because you don't. It's a correct answer. It is the truth. And there are some people right now get completely where I'm going with this, and that's fine. But there's a bunch of people are going, wait, I don't get what you're getting at. What if I was doing 100 miles an hour and he says, do you know why I pulled you over? Isn't it a safe guess that he pulled you over for speeding? Yes. And it would be a guess because you are not a mind reader. Do you know what I'm thinking right now? No, you don't. If you think you are a mind reader, you probably belong in jail because mind readers don't exist. So when a police officer walks up to you and says, do you know why I pulled you over? He's basically saying, can you read my mind? Can you read my mind? And let's back up a little bit. I'm an attorney. I've told you that before. Practicing law 28 years in the state of Michigan. I've tried cases. I've cross-examined people. I've directly examined people. I've taken depositions. And when people ask the question of a witness, do you know what he was thinking? It draws an objection that is so instinctive in the other attorney because it calls for speculation. Because human beings cannot read each other's minds. I do not know what you are thinking. You do not know what I'm thinking. Now, if you play poker, you might guess what another guy's thinking or gal. If you go through life, you might often think you know what other people are thinking, but you do not know what they are thinking. So the officer says, do you know why I pulled you over? The answer has to be no, N-O. You do not know. K-N-O-W. Darn homonyms. So the point is that when he walks up and says, do you know why I pulled you over? You don't. You don't. And I'll give you an example from my own life. Now, here's the other thing. Whenever I mention my interactions with the police, I get people who say, Steve, you get pulled over a lot. You must be a horrible driver. To which I point out, number one, I've never been in an at-fault accident in my entire life. And number two, I've been in one interaction with the police in the last 10 years. And I described that in an episode where I talked about a police officer who pulled me over the night of the election. So that would have been 2016, 3 years ago. And he did not give me a ticket. And he did ask me, do you know why I pulled you over? I said, no, I don't. And he didn't give me a ticket, by the way. So, all's well that ends well. If you go back to the last ticket I received in my life, I'm guessing 12, 13 years ago. I could be wrong on that by plus or minus a little bit, a year or two. But I used to teach a class in Detroit, University of Detroit, Mercy School of Law. And I taught it on Saturday mornings sometimes. And I'd often go to my office early to do some last minute type work when the office is quiet. And then I'd jump in my car and drive down Woodward Avenue to Detroit. It wasn't that long of a drive, but it took you through some parts of towns that weren't the most scenic, if you know what I mean. And Highland Park is one of the towns you pass through on Woodward Avenue. And Highland Park had run into some financial troubles to the point where they had to lay off, I believe, both their fire department and their police department. But at least the police department was laid off. They had no police department. So they basically asked the state, could the Michigan State Police come in and come in and kind of patrol and take care of the laws for us for a little while we get our act together. And so the Michigan State troopers were often patrolling up and down Woodward Avenue. And on that Saturday morning, as I rolled through town, I saw a police trooper cruiser pulling out of a side street next to a building. And I saw him. And as I passed him, he pulled up behind me, turned on his lights. And he walks up and goes, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" I had no idea. I had no idea. Now, you said, "Steve, take a guess." Take a guess. If you had to guess what was he going to say. If I wanted to guess, I would have said speeding. That's the only thing it could possibly have been. But I don't think I was speeding. So he goes, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" And I said, "No, I don't know. I have no idea." And he goes, "You ran a red light." Now, you'll have to trust me on this one. I looked in my mirror and I stuck I'm doing this, looking at, the red light was like blocks and blocks and blocks before where his trooper vehicle was parked. And he couldn't see it because there was a building here and a building here, and he's here. This building blocked his line of sight. He couldn't see that stoplight that was back there. He couldn't see it. And so I looked and I go, "What stoplight?" And he points and he goes, "That one." And he's pointing behind me down the street to one I can't see. Or, one he couldn't see, one I can barely see. And I looked at him and I go, number one, I didn't run it. Number two, you couldn't even see that stoplight from where you're parked. And he goes, "Eh." And he walked away. Comes back with a ticket. Boom, ticket. There you go. Disobey red light. I didn't run the red light. But if I had guessed, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" which is better translated as, "Do you know what I'm thinking?" and I had guessed speeding, seems like a likely bet, right? He would have said, "Oh, you were speeding too, huh? Well, red light and speeding." Hadn't done either. So the point is that when a police officer walks up to your car and goes, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" the correct answer to that all day long is, "No, I don't know." And it's very similar to when you're preparing a witness to take a deposition. They're going to be grilled by the other side's attorney, and they're going to be asked questions about everything under the sun. Once in a while, an attorney will say, "Did this happen?" No. Could it have happened? I don't know. It didn't happen. Is it possible that it could have happened? And I tell my clients and my witnesses and everybody else, if anybody ever asks you, "Is it possible that this happened?" the correct answer is, anything's possible. Anything's possible. Did your Chihuahua break out of the house and drive your car to the 7-Eleven? Is it possible? I don't know. Anything's possible. I mean, it's a stupid question, and it deserves a stupid answer. Is it possible? Is it possible? So getting back to, do you know why I pulled you over? No, you don't know. And if you stupidly say, "Yes, I do know," what you're actually saying is, "I'm guessing you're pulling me over because of the thing I'm doing wrong, which I'll now confess to," which you should never do. Okay? Now, some of you, and I know I've got contrarians in the audience because I get people who object to everything I say. I've got contrarians in the audience who say, "Steve, if I steal a car and I'm driving 100 miles an hour down the interstate and a police officer pulls in behind me, flashes on, and I don't pull over for 10 miles, and finally a roadblock gets set up and they block me and I ram my car into the roadblock and I stumble out of the car bleeding and I get tased and I'm flopping on the cement like a fish in a Faith No More video. And the cop goes, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" At that point, shouldn't you just say yes? Well, it depends. At that point, everyone knows. So what good's it going to do for you to say yes? At that point, you just go, "I need to speak to my attorney." And by the way, the fish was not hurt in the video. But more importantly, there have been numerous occasions that we've heard of in the news where the police pulled somebody over and let them go without realizing, oh, that was actually a wanted fugitive. Or, gave somebody a warning and didn't realize later that was a murderer who was escaping the scene. I'm not saying I want murderers and fugitives to get away. I'm talking about the people in my audience who never break serious laws. All they break at best is traffic ordinances and citational type things. Citational. Leto's Law, inventing new words daily. So the point is, if a police officer goes, do you know why I pulled you over? The answer is no. Now, don't give him a hard time or her a hard time and say, I'm not a mind reader. But just say, no, I don't. I'm just driving along, minding my own business. I was watching the road, trying to drive safely, both hands on the wheel, 10 and 2, But now, if they get more specific, do you know how fast you were going? If you know the exact speed you were going, you can tell them. And I've had people say, Steve, if you don't tell them, you're admitting to the fact that you're speeding. No, you aren't. No, you aren't. Most people, if you quickly cover the speedometer and said, quick, how fast are you going? Most people don't know. Not to the exact number. They think they're doing 55, they're doing 56, they're doing 53. So if you said 55 and he says, nope, I got you doing 57, is that a lie? Did that help you to say 55? But getting back to the most narrow issue here, and I'm going to end it now because I think you get the point. The question asked of you at the roadside by the police officer, do you know why I pulled you over? The answer to that always, 100% of the time, the correct answer is no, I don't. And if you say, Steve, I think the correct answer is yes, I do, and I tell them because it's so painfully obvious, you have problems because you think you're a mind reader. And like I said, if I'd answered the cop who said, do you know I pulled you over with what I thought the obvious answer was, I would have been wrong. And there are countless examples of that in our culture and society I've heard of as well, much worse than that. But that's not the point. The point simply is this: you don't know why he pulled you over or why she pulled you over, so don't guess. Guessing will hurt you. And even if you think you know the answer, you're still guessing, and guessing will hurt you. So there you have it. Like I said, inspired by a weird email. The question he asked, that he raised, was an interesting question. It was just phrased so poorly and surrounded by such obscenities that I can't actually read it to you. And yes, I responded to him and blocked his email. So questions or comments, put them below. But no, you do not know why the police officer pulled you over. Bye-bye.